I know there were some that were asking about how you could revive a battery by reversing the polarity. And a lot of the time have chargers somewhere like this where it has, polarity protection. And also it won't even try to charge if you reverse it. It'll give you an error like FO3 or FO1 or FO2. And now this battery, excuse me, this battery here, this vehicle sat. I mean, it's just been sitting. But we got it for parts for that truck. Okay. So the engine runs on this one, but the transmission doesn't. So this vehicle has sat for probably 2 years, maybe longer. They put a new battery in it because it wasn't starting. Then they found out it was the starter, so it had a brand new battery, but the truck never moved. Sitting discharged for so long, this battery went bad. No matter what I did, I couldn't get it to charge. I could jump the engine, let it run for an hour. This battery, as soon as you turn it off, it would go from 14 volts, which is kind of weird. That tells me that the alternator was more or less seeing a short and it was putting out more than it was supposed to. And then within just a few minutes, would be down to like 0.06 volts. So I knew that this battery was pretty much shot. So I wanted to do what I used to do with my old charger that I no longer have, and I wish I did. And that was to, discharge it, reverse the polarity, and then charge it. So how did I do it with the charger that doesn't allow me to do so? Okay, well, first off, you need jumper cables and you need a good battery. Now, this battery's not really good. It's actually got a blown bus bar. So it's only got it'll charge to 14 volts, 13 volts. Problem is it doesn't have the amperage because the bus bar is, like I said, it's blown. It's got a huge chunk blown out of it. So I really don't care about this battery too much. So what I did is you reverse the polarity on, this one I had positive and I had negative. And of course I made sure this battery was drained by turning on the lights, making sure that the battery was at 0 volts. Then just carefully put those jumper cables backwards. Make sure you disconnect it from the truck. Last thing on earth you want to do is have it connected to the vehicle because you blow out the computer and everything else. So have this completely disconnected, both sides, so you don't accidentally do anything that can cause damage to your vehicle. So disconnect both sides. Okay. Then I actually used the side of the jumper cable, or you can use a small piece of wire to reverse the polarity. And the reason for the small piece of wire is if this is shorted, you don't want to have it connected directly to the battery, which is going to blow up this battery or damage your cable. So you can use just a small piece of 18 gauge wire, maybe even like a 22 gauge wire, and you reverse these. And so you give this battery kind of like a jump with just a little bit of backwards charge. Then what I did is, as you can see, I had the charger connected to the cables so that it would charge the battery backwards. And the charger would see this battery more than it would see this one. So this battery was tricking that it was good to go. And so I got this charged, and when I got it charged up to 13 volts, I think it was only like to 12 and a half volts, to be honest, if I remember correctly. I didn't do it for very long. I didn't want to burn anything up. Basically, I reversed the polarity, hooked up the charger like this, gave it a couple minutes. Periodically, I would disconnect this battery, and I would watch the current on that and see if it was dropping or staying stable. Now I started off with 2 amps on that, and then I went to 6 amp. Didn't go to the 10 amp. And with it on 6 amp, I would disconnect this battery. So I'd give it about 5 minutes, disconnect this battery, watch the current. If it dropped, then I would see how much is dropping. If it was dropping rapidly, I'd hook this battery back up, let it build up. When I saw that it was slowly starting to hold the amperage, but it was still going down, of course I connected this back up, gave it a few more minutes. This time I gave it like about 10-15 minutes. And then what I did is pulled this off, and then when I saw that that stabled out and actually went up to voltage, then I let it sit for about 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and then I turned it up to the 10 amp. Okay, now when it was at the 10 amp, then I only gave it just a few minutes. I mean, well, like I said, it was about 30 minutes, but I didn't want the battery to be fully charged. Then what I did, disconnected all of this again, connected it back up to the truck, but I made sure what I did this time is I used the jumper cables to reverse the polarity of this. I didn't want to have to take the battery out, but you can just take the battery out. You got to make sure it's backwards, because now this is backwards charged. So you don't want to short your vehicle. But on this case, I didn't want to go through all that. I just connected the jumper cables black, red, and then red and black, and just reversed it. Turn the headlights on. Let it drain the battery down to 0 volts again. Then I repeated the process, but this time in the correct direction. Positive, positive, negative, negative. And I started the whole process all over again. And then when I saw that, again, that the amperage was stable at 2 amp, then I went to 6 amp. When I saw it was stable again there, then I let it sit for probably 2 or 3 hours at 6 amps. Then I came out, turned it up to the 10 amp, let it sit overnight. And now I'll show you. This was from a dead battery. I should have videoed the dead battery to show that it really was truly dead. But now, yes, I know there's an exhaust leak. The O2 sensors have been removed. It's not, the cat hasn't been cut out. All I need to do is put the O2 sensors back in and it's good to go. But as you can see, the battery has been restored, and it was restored by reversing the polarity. What happens when these batteries are not supposed to sit for long periods without a charge. They could sit for months, sometimes even years on a shelf in a store, and the voltage may drop a little bit over time. I mean, obviously every battery is going to have some bleed off, but for the most part, these batteries are good to go, even sitting on the shelf for months, as long as they're not discharged. Once they discharge, they start building up sulfur on the plates in here. These batteries don't like to be discharged. That's why there's a difference between a regular starting battery versus a deep cycle battery versus like EBF or EFB battery, and then like gel cells, or all that other stuff. So when these things are discharged, the plates build up sulfur. Basically, this corrosion you see here is like what these plates build up. When you reverse the polarity, that sulfur that's built up can actually get knocked off the plates. Okay, and you kind of like recondition the plates. Now you can, in some cases, like if you've seen on some of these other videos, they just leave it reversed and just run it like that forever, and then they just take a marker and mark this one positive, this one negative, and just leave it like that. You can leave it reverse polarity. You don't get as much current as it's the other way, because one, usually the battery's degraded, and two, they're not designed for the electrons to flow that direction. So I made the decision to reverse it, to knock the sulfur and crap off the plates, and then put it back forward. Now if it wouldn't have worked when I put it back forward the way it's supposed to be, I would have done it again in reverse and then try to make it work that way. And if it worked that way, I would have just left it. But seeing that it worked this way, I'm happy with it. And as you can tell, fires right up. This battery is only 3 years old, but like I said, it probably has sat for 3 years. So this battery being from dead to alive just by that simple process. Now, when you get a reconditioned battery, or even some of the you know, what do they call it? Basically the budget end. Your budget end batteries are sometimes, they just do exactly that. They hook it up to these chargers that will slowly discharge them to absolute zero, and then reverse the charge them up, and they'll do this several times. And then a lot of the time what they do then is, after they get it going, is they'll take the acid out, put new acid in, and then get it charged up. That way you've got good acid, everything's good, and then they'll cut this top off, put a new top on, put new leads, all that kind of good stuff. So that's basically the process of reconditioning batteries. When you go to like junkyards, LKQ, they have a similar process. The charger does reverse and then go back forward, and it'll do this cycle until the charger sees the battery's in good shape, and then they put them up for sale. And of course, LKQ, you can get a lifetime replacement. The reason why they do that is because they've been tested out good, and they test good by reconditioning them in the same process. So I hope that helps somebody. Obviously they make chargers for this. I had a charger that did it. It was the same brand as this one. It was just a bigger version. It had up to 25 amp, but it did have the recondition feature in it. I don't see those too much anymore. I'm going to see if I can find another one, and I'm going to pick it up and do some more testing with it. But now, this only works for batteries that have been sulfated. Batteries like this that have a busted bus bar, no hope. The only thing you can do is cut the top off, replace the bus bars, clean out usually once you crack it open, then you replace everything in it, and then put it back together, and then you melt some lead back on for new tops. But you know what? It ain't worth the deal. You just go to LKQ, pick up a lifetime for like 60 bucks. But I just use it for stuff like this, stupid things, for jumping cars, or reversing polarity on stuff. I just keep it around for that. And yeah, so I hope this helps somebody, and if you have any questions or comments, please let me know.